Klay Thompson is a multiple-time NBA All-Star, a champion, one of the best shooters to ever live, and he is without a doubt a man who has literal ice coming out of his veins. When Klay retires, there is no doubt he will be a surefire Hall of Famer, and that is the reason his return has caused the entire NBA world to stop what they're doing and pay attention. Because with Klay Thompson, the Warriors have been title contenders or title favorites for a long time. It is not an exaggeration at all to say that a lot of the Golden State Warriors dynasty in the 2010s relied on the play of Klay Thompson, which has to raise the question here. Why was Klay Thompson taken with just the 11th pick of the 2011 NBA draft? And almost 11 years later, what happened to the guys taken after him? So what's up guys, Mike here, and this video is pretty straightforward, so I just want to say please leave a like, it helps out a ton with YouTube's algorithm. Thank you guys, I appreciate you. And now moving forward, I think the best way to do this is to start with the first pick and then end with Klay's own scouting report, where we can decide if he should have fallen to pick number 11. Which means with the first pick, the Cleveland Cavaliers were on the clock, where they took Duke's Kyrie Irving, and we really can't question this one at all. Although at Duke, Kyrie would play in just 11 games total, he still certainly showed flashes of future stardom, as he not only put up 31 points against Michigan State, as well as 28 points against Arizona in the Elite Eight, but on top of this, Kyrie would also finish his college basketball season with a 14.8 total box score plus minus, a number that would have led the entire NCAA if Kyrie had qualified. So combine this with the fact that Kyrie was also ranked by ESPN as the number 3 recruit in the nation coming into college, along with the knowledge that Kyrie got off to a faster start than Klay did, and total numbers / awards aside, the Cavs made the right choice here simply because LeBron did come home to play with Kyrie after Kyrie was named to his second All-Star team in just his first 3 seasons. In the summer of 2014, when LeBron made that decision, Klay had yet to be named an All-Star, and even though he had shown some insane promise, at the end of the day here, the Cavs got LeBron back and won a title, so they made the right move. As for what has happened to Kyrie since, well, he won a ring with the Cavaliers, he had some up and down experiences in Boston, and now on the Nets, we aren't sure if he'll be able to play in home games during this year's playoffs. We'll see what happens with that situation. As for pick number 2, the Minnesota Timberwolves gave us our first massive mistake, but weirdly at the time, this was a no-brainer, because the battle for the number 1 pick actually took place between Kyrie Irving and Derrick Williams, a man who had just finished a college season that saw him named then Pac-10 Player of the Year, NCAA All-American, and Williams was also a monster when Arizona knocked off number 1 seeded Duke, who had Kyrie Irving on their team in the Sweet 16. Now, to be fair, headed into this draft, Derrick Williams was seen as a tweener, which was a red flag. However, he was also seen as an athletic forward who could score at a very high level. Williams would possibly have the most random 3-point scoring season we have ever seen, as in the 2011 college season for Arizona, Derrick Williams shot 57% from 3 on over 1 made 3 a night. He also averaged 19.5 points and 8.3 rebounds total, which meant Minnesota saw a potential star frontcourt duo of Kevin Love and Derrick Williams coming together and jumped at it. I mean, you just heard those raw numbers. They certainly seem promising for a sophomore playing at a high-level program like Arizona, and at the time, Chad Ford loved this pick, as he said, Williams is the second best talent in this draft, and I think talent ultimately trumps need, so they, Minnesota, will take Williams and sort it out later this summer. Minnesota would never sort it out with Derrick Williams, as although he did show some promise in his second season after averaging 12 points and 6 rebounds a game, Derrick would be traded in just his 3rd season with the team for an older Luke Mbamute and was out of the NBA at just the age of 26. And yes, while in the NBA, Derrick Williams never came close to shooting 50% from 3. For his career, Derrick would shoot just 30% from the 3-point line. So it's safe to say that Klay's shooting and perimeter defense would have fit very well next to Kevin Love, and it's definitely cool that down the line, Kevin Love and Klay Thompson were actually almost traded for each other. As for Derrick Williams, he is now playing in the Israeli Basketball Premier League as well as in the Euro League. Williams has not made a return to the NBA since 2018, and if he doesn't come back this year with all of the 10-day contracts that are happening, I just don't see him coming back ever. By the way, guys, if you're still here and you're enjoying this content, it would be awesome if you could subscribe and turn on post notifications. That way you never miss another video like this, and you help on the grind to 2 million subscribers. Thank you guys, I appreciate you. Now, continuing on with the video, at pick number 3, the Utah Jazz felt they needed a center, and so Enes Kanter, a player who really emerged after dominating Team USA at the 2010 Hoop Summit, was chosen as a potential cornerstone big man for the Jazz. Now, Utah would actually completely whiff on not only this pick, but on the decision to trade Darren Williams for young big man Derek Favors, a previous number 3 pick himself, before finally finding their franchise big man in Rudy Gobert with the 27th pick in 2013. So without a doubt, Klay would have worked out much better here in Utah, as although Kanter did have some solid seasons in the league, he's so far averaged over 11 points per game in 7 different years. The problem is that Enes Kanter has put up those numbers on 5 different teams. At the end of the day, when you draft a player, you either want that guy to be great on your team, or you want to be able to trade that player for assets in the future. The assets the Jazz got were underwhelming when they did trade Enes Kanter in just his 4th season, as it was clear that he was a massive defensive liability. And throughout his career, Enes has unfortunately continued to be a massive defensive liability, but again, the man could and can put the ball into the basket. He has had a very long NBA career. He just wasn't worth the number 3 pick in the draft. The same could be said with pick number 4, as already having taken a point guard in Kyrie Irving, the Cleveland Cavaliers looked for a big man with their next pick and ended up taking a fresh out of college, Tristan Thompson, who was previously the number 10 recruit in the nation and at Texas, was named Big 12 Freshman of the Year after averaging 13.1 points and 7.8 rebounds on a 28-win team. Now to me, this is where things get very interesting, because if the Cavs were still able to get Andrew Wiggins and trade him for Kevin Love, well then suddenly we're talking about a core of Kyrie, Klay, LeBron, and Love battling the Warriors without Klay or whatever team rises to the top in the West. In my opinion, and I think this is clear, Cleveland would have had a much better shot at winning multiple championships with LeBron there if they were able to draft Klay at number 4 and then still get Andrew Wiggins. They would just need a reliable center, but at the end of the day for Cleveland, while they didn't get Klay, they did get a reliable center in Tristan Thompson. Sure, he may never have turned into an all-star, but he was a solid player for some great Cavs teams for many years, and at the end of the day, teams draft with the goal to win a championship, and that is what the Cavs did. As for pick number 5, many thought the Toronto Raptors might have a steal with Jonas Valanciunas, as after he was drafted, Jonas was then named FIBA's European Young Player of the Year in a back-to-back seasons. This meant that the biggest concern at the time was when was Jonas going to leave for the NBA, as many were unsure when Jonas would come over from Lithuania to the United States, but any doubts were quieted when Jonas would suit up for the Toronto Raptors in the 2013 season, which means for the 5th pick in this draft, the Raptors did okay for themselves. As you're about to see, several guys taken after Jonas were horrible NBA players, and Jonas, he's averaged 13.2 points per game for his career so far. On top of this, Toronto did get 6 quality full seasons out of him, and then they traded him for Marc Gasol, which actually helped them win a championship. So while sure, Klay would have fit in well with Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan, the number 5 pick here did help Toronto achieve their ultimate goal of winning an NBA championship, so I've got to say, mission accomplished. As for Jonas, he's averaging a career high in points per game this season, as he's put up 18.6 points and 12.1 rebounds with the Pelicans so far. It's going to be interesting to see what he can do when Zion comes back. With pick number 6, the Washington Wizards thought Jan Vesely was the perfect transition big for John Wall to run with, though it turns out instead, Jan became the type of foreign prospect that scares teams from drafting future foreign prospects. Because while before the draft, Jan did help lead his Serbian club Partizan to the 2010 EuroLeague Final Four, while also receiving FIBA Europe Young Men's Player of the Year award. Once Jan entered the NBA, he faced some serious problems. His 2nd season in Washington saw him average just 2.5 points per game. He was traded in his 3rd season, where all the way back in 2014, Jan played in his last NBA game. As it stands right now, Jan is on the Czech Republic national team and plays in the EuroLeague, so overseas, he's still doing extremely well. As for the NBA, at pick number 6, he was a massive bust. Side note, as crazy as it is to say, I think Jan's best NBA moment actually came during the draft when this happened. As for pick number 7, to this day, I have no idea why a 6'8" center who can't shoot the basketball was chosen 7th overall and then traded to the Charlotte Bobcats in a draft day trade. And the reason Biyombo was taken 7th and why he failed can be summed up in ESPN's scouting report on him on June 13th with the draft approaching. ESPN wrote, Biyombo was the main attraction at this year's Eurocamp in Italy. On the court, he disappointed. Biyombo decided to skip the game and drill portion of the camp and instead did a one-on-none workout in front of 100 or so NBA scouts and GMs. While Biyombo is a fantastic athlete and has a crazy 7'6" wingspan and NBA body and speed, much of the workout focused on his perimeter skills, a major weakness of Biyombo. He missed roughly 75 to 80% of the shots he took. He was better when he showed his speed, power, and ability to dunk the basketball. Had the workout been geared towards big men, he likely would have shown better. Unfortunately, the workout didn't focus him in that direction. Instead of being reminded of why so many fell in love with him at the Nike Hoop Summit, his amazing rebounding and shot blocking, we were shown his weaknesses for roughly 30 minutes. As one GM summed it up, Bismack Biyombo played 1 against none today and he lost. And really, that's all we need. Scouts fell in love with Bismack's amazing wingspan and his athleticism, but when it came time to actually play games, for his career, Bismack has been underwhelming as a number 7 pick. Now, he has averaged 5.2 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game for his career, numbers that are completely respectable for a backup big man, but not for a top 10 pick. And now I've got to say, the Detroit Pistons taking Brandon Knight at number 8 is a breath of fresh air for me in this video. Not because it was the right move at number 8. Future All-Star Kemba Walker was taken right after Brandon Knight, so by default this is the wrong move, but finally we have some more college basketball prospects to look into, which means diving into Brandon Knight, I've got to say, just based on the hype and the numbers he produced, I completely understand why he was taken here. He was the number 4 recruit in the nation. He went to Kentucky to play point guard under John Calipari, a man who coached point guards such as Derrick Rose and John Wall. And then at Kentucky, Brandon Knight was dominant at times. He averaged 17.3 points and 4.2 assists per game for the entire season. He helped lead Kentucky to the Final Four, and so with a lot of high school hype added on to his successful season, Knight was taken 8th by the Pistons, and he did play well at times in the NBA. I feel like people forget that as a 24-year-old, Brandon Knight did average 19.6 points per game for the Suns and would have been a solid player going forward if not for a bad string of injuries. As of now, Knight is attempting to make an NBA comeback at 30 years old, and he actually played pretty well recently for Dallas. Heading on to pick number 9 though, when Kemba Walker was drafted number 9 overall by the Charlotte Bobcats, no one was really sure what to think, because at UConn, Kemba pulled off one of the greatest individual accomplishments college basketball has ever seen, and that is no exaggeration. As after UConn lost their final 2 regular season games, hopes were not exactly high for the postseason. Only Kemba Walker would catch fire and lead UConn to 11 straight wins, helping them to win both the Big East and NCAA tournament. To put into perspective how insane this was, in the 2011 season, Kemba averaged 23.5 points per game. The second leading scorer for UConn was a freshman, Jeremy Lamb, at just 11.1. This of course meant that Kemba played the role of the college star entering the NBA draft, and we know how many of those guys have turned out to be complete busts. This was not the case for Kemba. As a number 9 pick, he for sure has exceeded expectations. As for Charlotte, Kemba was a 3-time All-Star, and then he was also named an All-Star once in his time in Boston. So despite the fact that he's undersized, Kemba has always been able to score the basketball, and even with the Knicks this season, despite the fact that he has been benched at times this year, Kemba still managed to drop 44 points in a single game. The man is just a bucket. Continuing forward, I take everything I said about Kemba, and at pick number 10 for the Kings, Jimmer Fredette was the complete opposite. He was that cautionary tale. As a senior, he averaged 29 points per game, and I swear, during the 2011 season, people everywhere started saying Jimmer as they shot a basketball, not Kobe. That is how big Jimmer mania was, and with this hype, Jimmer became one of the most polarizing prospects we have ever seen, because as a senior, Jimmer led the entire nation in points per game with 28.9, and also led the nation in several advanced offensive stat categories such as offensive box score plus minus and points produced per game. Again, I cannot stress this enough. The 2011 college basketball season was all about Jimmer. He scored 52 against New Mexico. He scored 47 against Utah. He led BYU to the Sweet 16. He averaged 32.7 points per game in the NCAA tournament. He was an incredible college basketball player and an amazing foreign basketball player. As in China, after his NBA career failed, Jimmer has had games where he's put up over 70 points. But in the NBA, Jimmer was a complete failure. It seems the consensus here is that Jimmer refused to be a role player and instead wanted any offense built around him. I respect the confidence in his own scoring, but at the end of the day, with averages of a combined 6.1 points and 1.4 assists on just 41% shooting throughout his first 4 seasons, I'm not sure why Jimmer had this mindset. If he had just adjusted his game, he might have made it in the NBA. He might have became a great role player, but instead he has become a Chinese basketball superstar, so whatever makes him happy. By the way, guys, if you do want a full video looking at Kemba's insane run to the title or Jimmer mania, let me know in the comments. I definitely am interested in making them. For now though, we are at number 11, the Golden State Warriors drafting Klay Thompson, which means, guys, let's now look at Klay's scouting report headed into this draft and ask ourselves, should he have gone earlier, or is there a reason he slipped under the radar? Well, to begin things here, Klay came out of high school as the number 53 recruit recruit according to ESPN, which meant unlike other top 5-star recruits, the NBA at this time did not see Klay as a hyped up prospect. This was fine. Klay averaged 12.5 points per game as a freshman for Washington State and really wasn't considered in the draft picture yet. Then came year 2, and here's where I think Klay's potential and the reason he wasn't drafted higher both pop up. Because in his second season with Washington State, Klay averaged 19.6 a game, and then as a junior, Klay averaged 21.6 points per game and 5.2 rebounds a game, while almost making 3 3-pointers a night on almost 40% shooting from deep. The problem was Klay was the only NBA player on his team, and while some guys might shine in that situation, especially point guards who have the ball in their hands, as we know, Klay is a shooter. He works best running off picks. He works best spotting up and shooting the basketball. That means not having a single other NBA basketball player on his team when he was a sophomore or a junior was going to hurt Klay more than someone such as Jimmer Fredette in this draft, as Jimmer had the ball in his hands pretty much at all times. So in my opinion, I think this is the perfect storm of a draft steal. With Klay, we had a hardworking, slightly under-recruited player who put up very solid numbers, but didn't get as much national recognition as he deserved because he wasn't playing for a successful basketball program. Chad Ford nailed it when he said on his mock draft, the Warriors would be thrilled with this outcome. They've been concerned that Thompson won't be on the board when they pick. They've been high on him for weeks and feel as if he would bring them another big-time shooter to play along Stephen Curry. To say the Warriors have been thrilled since this pick would be the understatement of the century. Drafting Klay at number 11 was a home run. With that said, guys, there we have it. Thank you for watching today's video. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe and turn on post notifications. That way you never miss another video like this. If you're already subscribed, thank you so much for supporting. You're awesome. We all know it. And as always, have an awesome day, guys, and cue that music.
If you're still here while the music is cued, here are 2 videos I think you are definitely going to enjoy. Make sure to click on one of them. Again, I know you're gonna love it. And other than that, have a great day and peace.